Hello everyone. It's been a while since I made a video. I did record half a video a while back, but I never uploaded it because I was busy with other things. But I'm back now. I'm gonna make some more videos just like I did last summer. Like I never went away. I just wanted to make a short video today. Sort of dismiss a claim often made about the Germanic god Odin or Wotan and the Celtic Lu, that being a Gaulish Mercury and Germanic Mercury, as depicted by the Romans and Greeks, and that these were gods of merchants, and therefore not necessarily as noble as they're often depicted. Of course, we know that these were gods of the nobility, of the warrior elite, while other gods were worshipped more by the common folk. These gods seem to be worshipped mostly by the elites. But why were they worshipped by merchants, or why were they important to traders and merchants at the same time? Well, first, just to make a point on how we identify this Gaulish Mercury and Germanic Mercury, we know with certainty that it's a Lugus in Gaul, who's being referred to here as chief of the Gaulish gods according to Caesar, and likewise when Tacitus refers to the Germanic Mercury, he's referring to Wotan. Regarding these gods and their functions and how they're worshipped, they're obviously very multifaceted gods, much like Mercury himself, or Hermes in Greece. I'll probably make another video talking about the connection between Hermes and Mercury to Wotan and Lugus in another video. But for now, I just wanted to talk about this about them being merchants, the gods of the merchants. We know Odin is a god of seafarers, sailors, fishermen, and also of prisoners, people who are executed, in addition to the warrior elite, much like Lu was to the Celts. In addition, on the other side, Lu was also a god of artisans and artists, and also sportsmen. And that idea that Lu is a patron of the sports and the arts continued right through medieval Ireland, almost up to modern Ireland, in some veins. But I don't want to go into too much detail to go off topic. Were they the same god? Probably not really, because as I noted in a previous video on deiform archetypes and the limitations of interpretatio, the gods are really combinations of different archetypes and characteristics, which are distributed in different ways depending on the culture in which we're talking about, as well as the time period. So many gods changed function over time. Many gods are worshipped differently from one area to another. I made a few examples, like how Tyrannus was the god of thunder in Gaul, but Tyran was just is described as a powerless old man, and in Ireland, that is, even though they're the same god. So different gods are worshipped differently in different areas and over the different time periods. And my point was basically that the equation or interpretatio of gods from one culture with gods of another is often arbitrary and redundant, because we're talking about cultures that have changed a lot since they shared a common ancestor, and we're not simply talking about gods that have been taken from one culture and adopted into another, like say the cult of Mithras or Osiris or things like that, which is a completely different story. We're talking about cultures that have evolved over time. So Lu and Wotan do differ from one from another. They're not exactly the same, although they have many shared characteristics. They both have a spear that never misses its target, they're both patriarchal figures, etc., progenitors of other gods, and such forth. And the list goes on. But regarding this one particular attribute and why it could be said that they were worshipped by merchants, I think it makes sense in that both of these characters are geldings, I guess you could say. They're about sort of tyrants of finance. In that it's clear this is true because we look at their regalia, I guess. The regalia of these gods is very grand and fine. They are endowed with magical objects and great masses of wealth, and we also know from stories regarding these gods that they often demand large tributes, often exorbitant tributes, as in the case of the story of the tragedy of the sons of Turin, when Lu demands an extortionately large amount of money as a weregild from these men for the slaying of his father, Cian. But once they deliver these magic treasures, which they've collected from all over the world, from Greece and Persia, etc., and bring these treasures to Lu, Lu changes his mind and has the men killed anyway. So it's really a story about how there's no punishment too large for killing a king or killing a godlike person, I guess. And the cruelty of totalitarian power, etc. Whatever. So here we have the idea that Lu is one of these a collector and a bestower as well of wealth. And Odin as well, we also have of similar stories. Odin has a hog known as Gullinbursti, golden bristles, and he's associated with gold and with money as well, quite a lot. And also, we also have the story, of course, where Odin demands gold, money, that is, in order to take Sinfjotli's body across the river to where supposedly he would be cured, but where really Odin takes him to Valhall. And Sigmund pays this tribute to him by he pays him basically money to take his son across. As well, we have the stories of Odin as a traveller and whatnot, where he would travel as a wandering poet or an old man and such forth, the story describes, and go door to door. Rather than paying his way, he would cause trouble and strife, as sort of in lieu of that, I guess. He was sort of a trickster in this regard. And so my point is generally that this facet of these gods wasn't to do with that this was some sort of sign of ignobility among them. We have to understand that the nobles, the elites, say the warrior elite that existed in those societies back then, would have worshipped the god and seen the god very differently. But regarding the gods that the common people worship, it's got a little interrupted there. But anyway, it's just wrapping things up, saying that he's a very multifaceted god, as Mercury himself was. Mercury was a messenger of the gods. He was a sort of most common god to appear to people in dreams. He carried people to the underworld when they died. Mercury had all of these different characteristics, and likewise Woden and Lu variant characteristics, and that the fact that they were held in esteem by traders, some traders I guess, at certain times of the year, is just one element in a multitude of different characteristics which these gods had, and it doesn't speak to any sort of ignobility in them. if we were to consider, say, the trade of merchantry, a lesser or inferior trade to, say, warcraft or artisanry or art itself, or any number of different, agriculture and the common means of subsistence. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So I'll make more videos shortly about different topics, and yeah, I'll continue with this channel like before, and hopefully you'll all follow me like you did before.